There's a quiet moment that almost everyone knows. The door closes behind you, the world softens, and you're left with only your own company. For some people, that silence feels peaceful. For others, it echoes. But today, we're going to explore a different possibility, one that often gets overlooked. The idea that being alone is not a punishment, not a warning sign, not even something to escape, but a skill, a strength, a doorway. Alone and lonely are often treated as twins, but they're not even related. Psychologists describe loneliness as perceived social disconnection, while solitude is intentional self-connection. One can happen in a crowded room, the other can bloom in an empty one. And research from the University of Chicago showed something surprising. People who know how to use solitude intentionally often feel less lonely, even when they spend more time alone than others. Humans are wired for connection, yes, but we're also wired for rest. We forget that part. In fact, brain imaging studies have identified something called the default mode network, a set of regions that activate when we're not engaging with the outside world. It turns on when we're daydreaming, reflecting, or simply sitting without stimulation. This network plays a key role in creativity, emotional regulation, and memory consolidation. In other words, your brain needs alone time to function at its best. But here's a unique angle most people never hear. Solitude isn't just about stepping away from others. It's about stepping toward something, your inner voice. When researchers studied people who reported high satisfaction in solitude, they found a specific trait. They weren't escaping the world, they were returning to themselves. Solitude was not a retreat. It was a recharge. And this is important because the world is getting louder. Every app, every scroll, every notification competes for your attention. The average person touches their phone over 2,000 times a day. That constant noise can dilute your sense of identity. Alone time becomes the space where your inner compass recalibrates. There's a concept in Japanese culture called ma. It means the pause, the gap, the meaningful silence between things. In music, it's the rest between the notes. In architecture, it's the empty space that gives the structure balance. In life, ma is the quiet in which you can hear your own thoughts clearly. Many Western cultures treat silence as awkward or empty. In Japan, it's considered essential. This is why solitude can be powerful. When you remove the noise, you create room for clarity. You start seeing what actually matters and what was just static. You can ask questions like, is this dream really mine? Do these relationships nourish me? Who am I when no one is watching? Questions most people never ask because they're rarely, truly alone. But let's acknowledge something real. Many people fear being alone because they've only experienced accidental solitude times when they felt left out, abandoned, or misunderstood. That type of aloneness hurts because it wasn't chosen. But intentional solitude is different. It's structured. It's gentle. It's self-directed. And it can be healing. Here's a niche finding that doesn't get much attention. Researchers studying astronauts, people literally isolated in space, noticed that the healthiest ones weren't necessarily the most extroverted or social. They were the ones who could create an inner world rich enough to sustain them. They practiced reflection, creativity, micro-rituals, and self-soothing. It wasn't the absence of people that mattered, it was the presence of meaning. That's the hidden truth. Solitude becomes empowering when you fill it with something that lights you up. It might be a project, a curiosity, a question you're exploring, a practice, a ritual, something that anchors you. There's another concept worth mentioning, the social baseline theory. It suggests that humans operate with the assumption that others are nearby. And here's the interesting part, our brains treat future connection as a form of present comfort. This means the simple knowledge that you can connect, even if you currently aren't, reduces stress. Being alone doesn't mean being disconnected, it means you're temporarily resting your social circuits. And sometimes, solitude is where our greatest transformations happen. Many breakthroughs, scientific, artistic, personal, come from stretches of time when people were alone with their thoughts. Van Gogh painted some of his most powerful pieces during solitary periods. Philosophers, poets, inventors, so many turned inward before they turned outward. But this video isn't about the big names. It's about you. Because solitude isn't only for the extraordinary. It's for the everyday. It's for the moments when you close the door and realize the room isn't empty, it's spacious. Let's talk about something relatable. People often report the most loneliness inside relationships that don't see them clearly. Being with others doesn't guarantee connection. And being alone doesn't mean you're unseen. Sometimes solitude is the first place where you start to actually witness yourself. There's growing scientific evidence that short periods of solitude can lower cortisol, improve focus, and even support better emotional stability. But beyond science, there's the lived experience you already know, those moments when you walk alone, sit with a warm drink, or lose yourself in thought. Those can feel grounding. If you've ever taken a walk without music and suddenly felt your mind untangle a problem, that's solitude doing what it does best. If you've ever sat quietly and felt something inside you finally exhale, that's the nervous system settling. If you've ever looked around and realized, actually, I'm okay, that's resilience. Still, we have to address the tenderness of the topic. Loneliness is real. Painfully real for many. But loneliness doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. And stepping into intentional solitude can help transform that ache into understanding. It can take you from I am alone to I am with myself. Your one unique insight many people never hear: solitude expands your social capacity. People who are comfortable alone often form deeper, healthier relationships because they're not driven by fear or scarcity. They connect from fullness, not emptiness. And that creates a different kind of bond. Maybe you're listening to this because you're navigating a chapter where you're spending more time alone than usual. Or maybe you're choosing solitude to rediscover something. Wherever you are, here is the truth: being alone is not a verdict. It's not a label. It's not your identity. It's a moment, and moments can be powerful. Think of solitude as a place where you go to gather yourself. To gather strength. To gather clarity. To gather energy for the next chapter of your life. Every person who learned to love solitude discovered something surprising. They didn't lose anything by embracing it, they gained a deeper version of themselves. And when you understand that, the world stops feeling like a place you must constantly keep up with. Instead, it becomes a place you move through with intention. With presence. With an inner anchor that doesn't shake just because circumstances change. Here's a final idea, a perspective from modern psychology. There's a difference between isolation and solitude. Isolation drains you. Solitude restores you. One is pushed on you, the other is chosen by you. One is cold, the other is warm. One empties, the other fills. So if you're in a season of solitude right now, allow it to be what it can be: a spacious, quiet room where the next version of you is taking shape. You're not falling behind. You're not missing out. You're building inward, so you can live outward with more depth and confidence. Being alone does not mean being without connection. Sometimes, it's where the deepest connection begins, the one with yourself. And when you can stand comfortably in your own company, you don't just survive solitude, you shine in it. So the next time that door closes behind you and the world softens, breathe. Listen. Settle into the quiet. This is not emptiness. This is a beginning. This is you alone, but not lonely. I hope you enjoyed today's video, alone, but not lonely. I would love to hear from you. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. See you in the next one. Take care of yourself. Be happy. Be healthy. Live longer. Thank you.